The first sales page I ever wrote, I used Ray Edwards, a copywriter who writes great copy. I used one of his sales pages to inspire me, to help me understand what to include in the various parts of a sales page. And it was hugely helpful because otherwise I would have been shooting from the hip with no idea. Welcome to the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast, where being a badass has less to do with what you wear and what music you listen to, and everything to do with whether you've got the thriving online business of your dreams. I'm your renegade thinking Harvard Law grad turned online entrepreneur host, Bobby Klinck. In my years building my thriving business, the most important lesson I've learned is that being a badass online marketer isn't about secret strategies or ninja tactics. It's about doing the basic stuff right and showing the F up. So each week here on the show, you'll get clear, easy to execute guidance on how to build your online business and a swift kick in the ass or two to make sure you're getting it done. Hey there, welcome to episode 142 of the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Klinck, and today's episode is hopefully something that you don't need to hear, but I think maybe you do. Today's episode, I'm going to be talking about why you need your own personal swipe file. And it's an important lesson that I think everybody needs to hear. And I'm going to talk about why you need it, what you should be collecting, and what to do with it. So that's what we're talking about today in today's episode. But before we dig in, I've told you about it a couple times now in the past few episodes, but I've got a new quiz that is about helping you find the mistakes that you're making in your email marketing. Now, if your email marketing is badass and you don't have any problems and everything about it is working great, you don't need the quiz maybe. But if you feel like you aren't necessarily getting everything you could out of your email marketing, I'd love for you to go take the quiz. It'll help identify maybe what you're doing wrong and what you could improve and how to improve it. And it also helps you understand kind of the shift in thinking that you need to make, or most marketers need to make when it comes to email. And it's a fundamental shift. And if you make it, it'll help skyrocket your email forward. So you can go take the quiz by heading to bobbyklinck.com/fatal flaw. Again, bobbyklinck.com/fatal flaw. Now let's get into the episode. We're talking swipe today. And this is an important concept. Now, hopefully you've heard the concept before, but if you haven't, a swipe file is basically just where you collect and save examples of things that are written that you might want to use as reference in the future. In other words, it's a place for you to go for inspiration. As a lawyer, before I was in the marketing space, we had another example is we called them go-bys. They're basically, you look at examples of, things that had been filed in court that I might need to use in the future for something I would file. Well, in the marketing world, it's the same thing. You have a lot of things you're going to have to write in your business. You're going to have to write sales pages. You're going to have to write landing pages. You're going to have to write emails. You're going to have to write potentially webinars. You're going to have a ton of this stuff you're going to have to create. And nothing is worse than having to start with a blank page and not even knowing where to start. And I could give you copywriting rules, and I could teach you a lot of copywriting rules about, how to write good copy. And I'm going to do that in some episodes here coming up to help you get a sense of how to do these things. But the problem is that even if you have those good rules, if you're starting from a blank slate, it's going to be like, ugh. Like I can tell you the first sales page I ever wrote, I used Ray Edwards, a copywriter who writes great copy. I used one of his sales pages to inspire me, to help me understand what to include in the various parts of a sales page. And it was hugely helpful because otherwise I would have been shooting from the hip with no idea. And the same thing, before I was taking, I'd kind of really refined my skills on emails. I would do that. I would collect emails and I would take inspiration from those. And it just made life much easier. So I didn't have to stare at a blank screen because let's be honest, that blinking cursor on a blank screen is the devil incarnate. You sit there staring at that and you're like, oh, what am I going to do? And so what I want to suggest to you is, yes, you could get formats, you could get frameworks, and those things can be helpful. Like having a framework for Facebook ads. That is definitely something that's useful. But one of the best things to do is collect a swipe file. And it's literally as easy as just making copies of stuff you see that you like that you might want to use again. And so I want to talk about the different categories of things that you should be collecting as swipe files. The first one that I'm going to talk about is what I just talked about, Facebook ads. As you're scrolling through Facebook, if you see an ad that is kind of within your general space, it doesn't have to be identical, but if it's something that's kind of in some ways related to you, and even if it's different, but is close enough that you could take some inspiration and you like it, make a copy of it. Again, you can do a couple of things. I mean, if you're on Facebook, you can save it, but also a great thing to do is literally just, take a screenshot and then, or you could take a screenshot of the top part and then copy and paste the text if there's too much text for you to really be able to take a screenshot of, and save it in like a Google Doc somewhere, paste in the image and then paste in the text. And that way you can see it and refer back to it. And this is helpful because, look, there are a ton of different frameworks for Facebook ads, and having a sense of what to write in a Facebook ad is huge. Like if you can just say, well, I think maybe I want to write an email or an ad like that. And, you can start from that. It's helpful. Like there is a famous ad that many people have knocked off. I think it started as like Confessions of a High Ticket Salesman or something like that. And there's that, and it's been knocked off a bunch of different times because it was such a great concept for an ad. So that's an example of if you had, kind of taken a picture of that, it's like, okay, hey, I can use that. So Facebook ads are an example. And even within Facebook ads, I want you to be thinking about, theoretically, it's great to capture a lot of different kinds of Facebook ads, like invitations to events, like to webinars, to series, to launches. If you're going to be doing launches, it is a great idea to capture those. But also, if you see an ad for a freebie, for a lead magnet that you really love and speaks to you, swipe that, because you need to have that, because that's something that you should have in your kind of, repertoire as well, is that kind of ad. But then also retargeting ads. Sometimes you'll see ads that are great because they really speak to you and in the right way, hitting you at the right time after maybe you've clicked on something and didn't take action. Make a copy of it. Literally, to give you a sense of what I do on Facebook now, I don't want to say much of my time because it's not true, but as I'm scrolling Facebook, I'm often seeing ads and I swipe them because I'm like, hey, I want to have this. This spoke to me. And especially like literally before I click on an ad, if I'm about to click on an ad, I always think, ooh, I better make a copy of this one because it got me to act. And so because it got me to act, I know it's probably a pretty good sign that it's a good one. So that's what I suggest on ads. On Facebook ads, you just want to be making copies of that. Now, if you're an Instagram person, you can do the same thing on Instagram as you are on Facebook. Just make sure that you're swiping that so you have copies. Next is landing pages. You're going to have to write landing pages, and there's a lot of pieces that go into it. Some of it's simple. I believe that less is more on landing pages for freebies especially, but when you see one that speaks to you, make a copy of it. And again, you can do this through screenshots, through taking a quick Loom video if you use Loom, just whatever it is, swipe it so that you can see that, so that you can kind of get a sense of what it was that you liked about it later, and you'll have that handy and at your kind of disposal. So that's landing pages. All of those things are important, but also sales pages you should have. If you see a sales page that you love, you should swipe, make a copy of it so that you have it, because those aren't available all the time. And so people often feel bad that they didn't get a copy of a sales page. So you want to do that so that you have a sense of what it is that you liked about it, etc. And again, I don't want to say the more the better, but when you see different kinds of sales pages that speak to you in different ways, it's useful to have. And those sales pages for swipe you have, but then you can also take a look at them and see, how do they flow and why did it flow well for you, et cetera. So that's where a sales page comes in. Next is if you see a video that you like, and this is one that I think a lot of people don't think about. If there's a video on a sales page, or if there is a video on a tripwire page after you sign up for something where, say, someone is trying to get you to buy a $7 product or a $17 product, something like that, and you really like it, if you can, screen grab it. Do a screen record just so that you see it, because I will tell you that those videos, there is some magic in really getting those right. And if you find one that speaks to you, it's good to have it so that you can think about how you can use that. Then the next category, I'm going here, email. You need to be swiping email left, right, and center. When you see a good weekly email that you love, hopefully mine, but it doesn't have to be, but if you see one that you really enjoy, swipe it. And that is really easy. I literally just have a folder that I say, this is a great email, and I copy it over into this swipe folder so that I have them in a swipe folder and I can do it. And those are just the general emails. But separate from that, especially if you're launching, especially if you're doing promos, you should be capturing promo emails, because promo emails and launch emails and all of those things you will want to have. I know that I literally hacked people's funnels in the past. Literally I would go to webinars just so that I could get their email sequences and put them into my swipe file so that I would have them to look at, to think through how are they doing it and how could this inspire me. And so I would collect all of those. And once you have all of that done and dialed in with all of those sequences, there you go. So once you have your swipe files, how do you use them? I want to be very clear. You are not stealing this stuff. You are not copying it. You're not going to use it and, just swap out a word here and there. You're using it for inspiration. You will find frameworks that you can pick up on by looking at things. You'll see like turns of phrases and how the people are making pivots and how people are coaching certain things. Like you might, for example, pick up on a common way that people will kind of convert a feature into a benefit by saying it has this feature so that, and then lays out the benefit of that feature, which helps you to really kind of, go deeper. And that way you're not just talking about kind of a feature of your product, you're talking about the benefit for people. So you'll pick up on all of those little things if you start looking at the swipe. And then the great thing is when it comes time to create a promo sequence, to create a sales page, to create a landing page, to do any of that, you're not going to be starting with a blank page. You're going to be able to go back, look at your files, and figure out what's going to work for you and kind of come up with something based upon your learning from all of the different swipe files you have. So my call to action to you today is, if you're not already doing this, you need to start collecting a swipe file, and you need to do it today. When you see something you like, an email, an ad, a page that is actually attractive to you, you need to make a copy of it in your electronic file so that you have it and you can use it in the future and just be able to kind of use it as a guide, because that is one of the most powerful things you can do in business. So that's it. Go swipe away. And that way you will be much closer to building a business, and it'll make everything easier. I'll see you next time. That's it for this episode of the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast. Make sure to tune in next time. And in the meantime, go out and build the badass business of your dreams.